Welcome back to another episode of Grace, Grit, and Grounds. This is your espresso shot for the week, and I had a lot of success and good feedback from you guys the last time I did an espresso shot from the Woodshop, so I thought maybe I would go back and draw some more wisdom out from the Woodshop. This week's episode is titled The Battle of the Red Oak, When the Wood Fights Back. There's a reason why most turners don't reach for red oak, at least not this one. I'll be honest, I enjoy turning hickory, I enjoy turning walnut and mahogany and pretty much just about any other wood. But when it comes to red oak, I just don't like turning it. It's stubborn, it's heavy, splinters like it resents the idea of becoming anything other than what it already is. It's just tough. My favorite wood lately has been, honestly, walnut. It's smooth and rich and very forgiving. Hickory, like I said, it has its charm. It's kind of got a little wild streak in there that keeps me honest. But red oak, well, red oak makes you earn every curl of shaving that you take from it. Today, though, it's not about perfection. It's about the fight. This square blank came from a fallen tree that I managed to cut some strips out of. It's been drying for about 2, maybe 3 years, waiting for its second life. I'm not really sure if it wants one though, and that's the funny thing about red oak is it fights back. There's just times when it just doesn't want to be what you want it to be. Some pieces of wood seem to remember the storm that dropped them. They hold on to that anger almost. And it's all right. I've got some of my own anger to work out at times. But here we are, making some of the first cuts, trying to bring it into round. This is probably one of the most interesting times of the turning because they're the first cuts. They're the hardest. And, the big key is just trying to find a balance point, trying to get it to turn into round, to get my stance ready and hope the gouge that I'm using doesn't bounce me across the shop. And it's more like a conversation at this point than a battle, though some days it feels like an argument with an old friend who refuses to listen. Each pass of the blade is a question. That question is, will you yield or will you keep fighting? The oak, of course, always answers, I'm not ready to give up yet. You can see me now. I'm getting the bottom turned into a reasonable shape. It's an important time because I need to get this backside done. The faceplate will have to come off at some point, and when that does, and I turn it around, I want to make sure that I can get the interior of the bowl just right. So I've got to really work on the backside. I may have a few more minutes to work on it later, but this is the most important time that I'm shaping that bottom. I love when I turn walnut, the shavings that come off seem to fall like silk. But this oak, man, it's throwing them back at me like sawtooth confetti. But somewhere in that struggle, I start to see the hint of a curve, a suggestion of what this bowl is going to become. I've got to work on getting the tenon just right. That's the bottom part of it where I can attach it to the four-jaw chuck. I like a reverse tenon. I like to make it sort of interior, but that comes with its own complications. I think there's a lesson in all this, the toughness of the wood, and the reality is that turning it's not easy. I would like to say that it's fun, it's enjoyable, but it's a bit of a fight. I think sometimes that this is how I think God is when he's working with me. You see me there. I just made that reverse tenon with my Forstner bit, and I'm going to clean up the edge just a little bit and get it ready for that four-jaw chuck. You notice that I have to constantly readjust my tool rest, my stance. I have to get the right tool for the right spot. In the midst of all that, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to attach this to the four-jaw chuck. So I pull it off the lathe, and this is where I think I get the parallel between, I guess, me and how God and I struggle sometimes with our ideas about how I'm supposed to be, uh, as God is trying to shape me. Just when He thinks that He's got it right, where He can start really doing some of the finish work, and He turns that bowl around like I'm about to do, and He gets it ready to go in the four-jaw chuck, and He realizes that I have resisted so much that I don't fit, that I didn't follow as the maker. I didn't follow the adage of measure twice and cut once. So I've got to put the faceplate back on. I've got to put it back on the lathe, and I got to fix that reverse tenon to make it fit the chuck so that it will hold it steady, because I don't want it to be wobbly. This is what God does for me. He's constantly readjusting, constantly taking me off uh, the lathe, continuing to shape me and to bring me into focus. It's honestly exhausting if you think about it. I can only imagine what the wood's going through, and just thinking, "Come on now, get it right." But the reality is that the wood's fighting me as much as I'm fighting it. I like to do this part with the Forstner bit and just get a nice bottom set to where I can go as deep as I think I can. I don't want to go too deep. I don't want to blow out the bottom or the sides, but sometimes just getting that starting cut is what I need, because this is the hardest part about this bowl. It's not the outside. The outside actually turns relatively easily in comparison. Now I'm going to have to get this set, and I've got to really fight. This is when the bowl is going to push back as hard as it possibly gets. And I know this right when I first start, because I start putting the gouge in like I'm doing now, and the sound changes, and it changes. You can hear it. At one point it gets gritty, it gets tough, it bounces a bit, and then as I get closer in there and as I start doing what I want it to do, the sound starts to change. It starts to get it right, and I can feel that chatter fade. I can hear the hum settle into something steady. It's like the wood is finally almost ready to give up. It's like this, almost like it gives a sigh, and it says, "Fine, fine, have it your way." It's just how I am with God at times. He gets me focused, He gets me going, and I fight back because I think I know what I want, but I'm not. I'm an idiot. He knows what's best for me, but I sometimes don't have the faith to let Him do what He needs to do. But I finally just give up and I say, "Fine, God, just do what you got to do." And that's when the wood stops fighting and starts listening, and it's when I stop fighting Him and I start listening. Every every piece of wood I've ever turned has a voice, and if you're quiet long enough, you can hear it. The oak really never stops resisting. Not really. It just finally agrees to meet me halfway. You can see me as I'm starting to shape this bottom. I'm getting it to where I want it to be. I'm using a square-headed gouge. I'm trying to get the bottom to be right, and so I've given it a little bit of an angle, but man, it's fighting me hard. And so at this point, I need to get the bottom of it to match the sides, and I'm drawing it out as best I can. I'm going slow, even though the video is moving kind of fast, but I'm struggling because while you may not be able to see it on video, I've already got some nicks and some splinters and some cuts, some gouges and some areas that just isn't working right. And I need to figure it out. I need to make sure I'm not going too deep. So I measure the back side of it, and I put it back on the four jaw chuck, and I'm ready to pull out my finisher gouge, which is a round shaped one, but I'm nervous because the moment I do this, I'm going to have problems because the gouge is small and it doesn't have a long handle. So it's hard to grip the way I need to. And when the wood fights back like this, it doesn't want to be shaped. It doesn't want to be changed, just like I don't. And I push back against God all the time. And this is coming from somebody I'm a professional pastor. I'm a minister. I'm somebody who ought to know better, but yet I continually push back against what God wants for me. I know His best is waiting there, but sometimes I look at it and I say to myself, this is good enough. And this is a little hint, I think, that I've learned over the years, and maybe I can share it with you, is that sometimes the enemy of God's best is the good that we have right now. It's like we're doing just fine. And so why change anything? Why go deeper? Why go further? Why can't we just maintain? I don't know if you've noticed, but you can see some serious gouges. I told you I was using that roundover bit on my gouge, and it caused some serious gouges in the bottom. So I got frustrated with the bottom. I'm just saying, you know something? Forget it. I'm going to work on the side of the bowl. I'm going to work on getting the edges right. And I'm going to come back to the middle in a little bit. I'm going to use my square edge one for the middle because it's resisting too much. It's fighting me too much. And I'm going to wait. You can see that big groove there. It drove me crazy whenever it does that. And I feel the same way with God. I know that He has a plan for my life, but man, sometimes I feel like that it's just not moving the way I want it to. I'm not moving like I want to be moved. I'm not going where I want to go. And so we argue, we fuss, we fight. Um, we don't, I don't know, we just maybe I'm asking too much of myself. I don't know. It's frustrating, but you can see the gouges. And I want this bowl to be beautiful. I really do. I can see it in my mind's eye, and I know the master, when he's carving me, he can see the finished product in his mind's eye. He knows where he wants to bring me. But man, if I don't fight back, and I'm not making it easy. It's a good thing that I'm using carbide bits, because if I was using a regular bowl gouges on this, I would have to sharpen it 2 or 3 times before the end of this bowl. And so I'm drawing it to the edge. I think I've got the gouges mostly out, but at some point I'm gonna have to move to that finisher as I come to the end. And I don't wanna make any more gouges. I don't wanna cause any more work for myself than I have to. As I shift and I start to try to make the side walls a little more thin, and I just try to get the right angle. I realized that maybe I could take some off the back side instead of the front side. So I turn the tool rest around, and I try to shave some off that back side to make it just a little more rounded, a little more in shape. I like a thin edge. I don't like it to be too thick, but you got to be careful, because every part of this can cause a problem. Every time I make that pass with that gouge across the bowl, I take a chance of carving too deep, having a cutout, hitting a splinter, maybe finding a hidden crack that I didn't see before. This is the problem I have. Obviously, the master wood carver, when he's dealing in my life, he doesn't have those problems. Well, now it's time to get to I guess, the second half of this bowl creation. I put the gouges away, and now I'm using sandpaper. The green one is 100 grit. The red one I was using a minute ago is 60 grit. It's tough using the sandpaper, because this is when I'm really taking just small bits out, and this is when it really gets hard, because red oak is tough. It's stiff. It resists, and I've got to get it down to where I need to. I need to sand it down to that beautiful shine that I know can be there. Because I'll tell you, there's something about red oak, even though it's stubborn, even though it's finicky, even though it fights back, the finished product is so unbelievably beautiful. And I know I can get there. And so I'm just working the interior of this bowl where some of the tool marks were, and some of those extra gouges that I just couldn't quite get out without destroying the whole bowl. And so I'm just stepping down the sandpaper, taking it as low as I can. But you see, I'm using a sponge and a couple other items there just to get it going right. You can see my ratty old leather gloves, because, I know I need to get a new pair, but they're just so functional. They work so well, and they're comfortable. And as I'm working in there and I'm using the sandpaper, that sawdust is flying everywhere. It's getting in my face. It's getting in my hair. You can see that I'm just wearing the apron, not the full-on jacket, because it's kind of warm that particular morning I was working on it. And so I've kind of got the long sleeves going on, and that sawdust is flying, and it's hitting everything and everywhere. But I enjoy the aroma. I enjoy the feel. It's getting there. It's starting to become what I know it can be. This is the moments that I enjoy the most. When I'm so close to getting this bowl the way I want to. It's not quite there where I can breathe some life into it. That moment when I use that oil, but I am so close I can almost taste it. And that taste isn't just the sawdust on my lips, it's something even more precious. It's something, I don't know, it's even hard to put words to. And now's the time. I'm finishing this up. I've got just a couple more pieces, and then I'm gonna bring this bowl to life. And that really is my favorite part, when I can take that oil, bring that beautiful shine, that life the bowl that needs, and sometimes I call it like breathing a soul into it. It really is one of the best moments in making the bowl. I'm almost there. You can see the shine. You can see the way the sunlight is hitting on it. I'm coming down to the final pieces. I'm probably going to bring this all the way down to 800, maybe 1,000 grit. I'm not sure yet. Still looking at it. Still trying to make it go just right. But I'm almost there. Well, the backside needs to be done first. So as soon as I get the oil-soaked cloth, I'll be able to get the backside, and then we can really take a moment and do that front side. All that rough talk and resistance that this bowl blank gave me, this red oak, it's giving away finally to some warmth. The grain is waking up, and it has that almost a fiery red. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but it's got a bit of streaks of gold in there from the grain. You forget that the fight took place almost, and I can almost forget the fact that my tools were getting a bit dull and the chips were flying away. And I just stand there and watch that light soak into something that finally found its peace. Some days the work flows. Other days it feels like a war of inches. But I've learned this. Beauty rarely comes from ease. It's the resistance, the friction, the struggle that reveals the strength in both the maker and the made. This bowl will sit a little heavier on the shelf, not because it's oak, but because I had to fight for it. And anything worth keeping ought to carry a little bit of a fight inside it. This is truly handcrafted for those who still believe in grit, fire, and the art of making something that will last long after I've stepped out of this world. Here it is, my red oak bowl.